Did you see my recent video where I showed the 4 comics I got slabbed by the CGC because I picked them up for a couple dollars a piece in the late 80s in the back issue bins at the comic store, and now they're falling apart? They're my oldest Marvel comics and I don't want to touch them anymore, so I figured I'd get them sealed up. 1965 Spider-Man, 1967 Fantastic Four, 1968 Iron Man, and 1969 X-Men. Remember how I said, wouldn't it have been great if I found a 1966 Marvel comic just to fill in that gap? What should it have been? And I couldn't think of what comic it could have been. I thought, well, the Hulk, but the Hulk didn't have a series in that year. So I said, help me out, but no one helped me out. It's okay. I figured out the comic I should have got. And I thought, you know what? What if I can get the perfect comic to fill that spot? Super cheap. And yeah, it wasn't in the 80s and it wasn't in a back issue bin. I just got to pick it up on eBay, but it still is special in that it's a tribute to the slabbing of these comics and fits the criteria where I got it real cheap. I found the perfect comic. Avengers issue 28. This is from 1966. I got it for $20, and it is the first appearance of Goliath. This is where Giant Man becomes Goliath, so it's like the only comic that came out from Marvel in that entire year that is a different iconic series that they had at the time for superheroes, and something actually happens in it. And you see how it's cool where it's got Captain America as the team leader of the Avengers, even though he was thawed out in issue 4, so he wasn't one of the original members of the team. He was the first addition to the team, and he took it over. And then these guys here, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver, were all villains, and they turned good and joined the Avengers, and this is the new Avengers team. Captain America, the newcomer, and the 3 villains. Pretty neat, huh? And then you've got Ant-Man, who predates the Marvel Universe. He came out in the late 50s, years before the Fantastic Four, and then he becomes Giant Man, and this is where he becomes Goliath. So there you go. And I thought, well, I don't want to just get one comic slabbed. Maybe I should do a second round of slabbings. What other comics would fit that criteria that would be good? And I thought, how about my first appearance of Iron Fist, Marvel Premiere 15. I got it signed to me by the writer, Roy Thomas. You know, I've loved Iron Fist for 40 years. I have every single Iron Fist comic. This is his first appearance. Maybe I could do that one. Or how about this? I forgot to mention, this came out. Okay, so I was born April of 74. This is the next month, May of 74. The month after that, June of 74, Doctor Strange issue 1 came out, and I got it signed to me by Frank Bruner. Frank Bruner was the first artist name that I remembered as a kid. In 1978, we had the pocketbook reprint of the Stan Lee Steve Ditko, I believe the first 6 issues of Doctor Strange, but the front cover, the back cover, and the final page had pinup art. They were all by Frank Bruner because he was the artist on the series at the time, and he had his name signed in a scroll underneath it, and the art looked so awesome to me. The character looked so cool, and that name in that scroll, I was like, that is the coolest thing, that signature. And it's weird to go through decade after decade after decade after decade of your lifetime where that name is just this mystical name on a scroll, and now he is a human being right in front of you with the Doctor Strange comic, and he's signing it to you. And I thought, maybe I should get that slab, never touch it again. Or how about, let's go back a couple months to the month I was born, April of 1974, the very first issue of The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, and I got it signed 3 times. Cover painter Neil Adams, the writer and editor Roy Thomas, and this is either Jerry Conway or Marv Wolfman. Those are the only 2 other men involved in this that I met and got autographs from. I would have to double check my research to determine who that specifically was, because I can't read it. But anyways, how about that? It's a magazine. You can get magazines slabbed. Look at that, Bruce Lee. Or how about this magazine? Kiss magazine. My dad printed this. This is the magazine with Kiss's blood. The members of the Kiss band, they jumped their blood into the red ink at the plant that my dad worked, and he ran the press and printed this. I met met Peter Criss and Ace Frehley and got him to sign it. I also got the album that was out at the time that they were on tour with, and it was painted by Ken Kelly, nephew by marriage to Frank Frazetta, and when I met him, I got him to sign the album as well as Peter Criss and Ace Frehley. How about I get that slabbed as well? Just this comic, this magazine alone, no signatures or whatever, is exceptionally expensive in any quality. What do you think? Well, you know what? What happens if I get the chance to meet Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley? How can I have them sign this? I'm still hoping for that day to meet them if they would ever do a convention, so I can't slab that. I flipped through this. There's so much awesomeness in here. How could I ever read it? It's not reprinted. The Shang-Chi story is reprinted, but that's it. The whole thing is chock full of awesomeness. I can't seal this up and never touch it again. Doctor Strange #1? I don't want to never be able to open this up and read it. How about this? Yeah, I have a reprint. It's in an essential. It's black and white. It's not in color. I could get the omnibus and have it in color, and I could slab this. I could. You know what? Not just yet. Suffice it to say, this is still in my hands. I haven't sent this off to be slabbed yet either. I don't know. Still going to contemplate it. Would you like to see what it looks like inside? Lots of fireworks going off outside. I don't know if you can hear them. Who knew that Christmas Eve was a day for fireworks? I don't know. Maybe they're trying to shoot down Santa. The Mighty Avengers. Among us walks a Goliath. So it's written by Stan Lee. It's drawn by Don Heck. It's inked by Frankie Ray. Wasn't that a Herald of Galactus? Stoically buried by Artie Simic, the letterer. The heck is that supposed to mean? So Hank Pym has revealed his identity. Apparently the other Avengers didn't know the Ant-Man's identity. And something has happened to Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp. Looks like she has been trapped, imprisoned. Oh, by the Collector. He was played by Benicio del Toro in the MCU. Remember? Okay, for whatever reason, his friends, his pals in the Avengers don't even believe that he's Ant-Man. Or I should say Giant Man. At this point, he was Giant Man. They want him to prove it. But he says he can't do it. The strain on his body might be fatal. And they say, yeah, all right, but, still, prove it. Great friend. Oh, but the Scarlet Witch stops him because she says, you don't have a costume. Let me quickly sew you one up. Because I'm a woman and that's what women do. She dashes off to the other room, sews him a new costume, and he grows. She's a fashion designer. He does it. He gets big. He doesn't die. And they say, yeah, all right, welcome back to the Avengers, pal. But Cap says, you're a real Goliath. I guess new costume, new name. All right, I guess they found out where the Collector is, so now they're off to go save Janet. Apparently all it took was Hank Pym sacrificing his own life to prove to his friends that he wasn't a phony. Thankfully, he didn't die in the process. No thanks to his friends. Well, they sneak in and are immediately captured. Good job. But oh ho ho, Goliath grows too big for the Collector. Looks like he's going to save the day. What was all this talk about too much of a strain on his body? I'm beginning to think Hank Pym is a phony. And this crazy looking character, the Beetle, wasn't he an Iron Man villain? Well, Iron Man was on the Avengers, so okay. Born in Liverpool, ready for a magical mystery tour. The battle keeps raging. Collector is attacking them with gas rays. I don't know. This is either a gigantic thug or the Goliath has shrunk. Nope, it's a gigantic thug. Look at his hairy legs. The battle is going back and forth. Who will win? This whole comic is action. Action and stories. And they save Janet. Hooray! And now Goliath dies. Just in time. So there you have it. First and last appearance of Goliath. I'm kidding. I'm sure he survived. Until next time.